Hey there, and welcome back to the Intelligent Founder Episode 4. I'm so glad you're here. Before we dive in, if you're finding value in these episodes, please hit that subscribe button and share them with your friends and fellow founders. All right, now first, a quick word on why this particular episode exists. It's been over a week. There's already been plenty of Davos coverage out there like Raconteur, Reuters, McKinsey, the World Economic Forum's own recap, etc., and social media conversations have almost died down by now. But here's what's missing. Nobody's framing these as promises that will be broken and tracking them. Nobody's giving founders tactical takeaways, not just analysis for analysts. And nobody's translating what these CEOs actually meant versus what they said. And that's what this episode is for. We're not summarizing Davos. We're decoding it for people who have to make real decisions based on it. Over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to break down what the world's most powerful CEOs said about AI at the World Economic Forum, what they actually meant, and why the numbers tell a completely different story than the headlines. Here's what we're covering. First, the shocking 88% failure rate that nobody wanted to talk about on stage. Second, 5 promises that CEOs made at Davos that I think you should bet against. And third, the 5 laws of the post-Davos AI economy that should guide your strategic decisions. If you're a founder, an operator, or anyone making strategic decisions about AI right now, this episode is essential because the gap between the Davos narrative and operational reality has never been wider. And that gap, it represents both the biggest risk and the biggest opportunity in technology today. So let's start with the number that should have dominated every headline but didn't. 88%. That's the failure rate of AI deployments to deliver return on investment. According to data from PwC, McKinsey, MIT, and the World Economic Forum itself, released during the very week that CEOs were on stage celebrating AI's transformative potential, 88% of companies cannot prove that their AI investments are working. Let me break that down a bit further. 75% of organizations are now using generative AI, but only 20% are getting real value from it. And here's the most damning statistic. Only 12% of CEOs can prove their AI investments generated both revenue gains and cost savings. 56% of CEOs surveyed by PwC across 95 countries reported neither increased revenue nor reduced costs from AI over the past 12 months. Meanwhile, CEO confidence in revenue growth just hit a 5-year low of 30%, down from 56% in 2022. So why was the stage narrative at Davos relentless optimism about AI's transformative potential? Because acknowledging the gap would undermine the investment thesis that keeps the current ecosystem functioning. The CEOs speaking on stage are raising money, selling products, and maintaining valuations that depend on the narrative of inevitable AI transformation. But here's the thing. Founders who understand the disconnect between rhetoric and reality, they'll find the opportunities everyone else is missing. Let me walk you through the 5 promises made at Davos that I think founders should bet against. Promise number 1. AI will create more jobs than it destroys. The World Economic Forum's own Future of Jobs report projects 170 million new jobs created and 92 million displaced by 2030. That's a net positive of 78 million jobs. Multiple CEOs repeated this framing, but here's what they're not saying. The 170 million new jobs require skills that don't yet exist at scale. The 92 million displaced jobs, they're held by people without those skills. The timing mismatch is catastrophic. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei was the only leader honest enough to say what others were thinking. He predicted that 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs will be eliminated within 1 to 5 years. He said software engineers are 6 to 12 months away from AI, doing most of their work. And here's the part that should make every founder pay attention. Many Anthropic engineers have already abandoned manual coding. They're editing AI-generated code, not writing from scratch. Demis Hassabis of Google DeepMind confirmed it. He said, "I think we will see this year the beginnings of the impact at the junior level." Both executives acknowledge that their own companies are already reducing junior hiring and internship programs. The net jobs math might work out over a decade, but the transition period, it's going to be brutal for specific categories of workers, and that creates both human challenges and market opportunities. What should founders bet on? Skills-based hiring platforms, corporate retraining infrastructure, and products that help mid-career professionals transition to new roles. What should they bet against? Business models that assume a steady supply of affordable junior knowledge workers. Promise number 2. Enterprise AI will deliver ROI in 2026. BCG presented data at Davos showing that 72% of CEOs now consider themselves the key decision makers on AI. Nearly all anticipate that AI agents will yield positive returns by the end of this year. The narrative was clear: experimentation is over, execution is here. But the same week, PwC released data showing only 12% of companies achieved both revenue gains and cost reductions from AI. EY's research explained why you don't get ROI from AI unless you redesign the work around it first. Here's the pattern that repeats across enterprise after enterprise. A CEO sees an AI demo at a conference. They mandate a chatbot for customer support. Nobody defines what success looks like. No baseline metrics are established. The team builds it, launches it, and 6 months later, customers are still calling humans because the bot gives wrong answers. But nobody can kill the project because it's the CEO's AI initiative. And nobody can fix it because nobody actually understands how the system is supposed to learn. The World Economic Forum's own Global Lighthouse Network report revealed that 95% of early AI pilot projects failed to deliver measurable value. The Lighthouse companies that succeeded, they did something fundamentally different. They redesigned end-to-end workflows with AI at the core, rather than bolting AI onto existing processes. What should founders bet on? Products and services that help enterprises redesign workflows, not just deploy tools. Change management and process reengineering will outperform pure technology plays. What should they bet against? AI-enhanced versions of existing software that don't fundamentally change how work gets done. Promise number 3, the best models will win. Jensen Huang declared AI the largest infrastructure build-out in human history. His 5-layer cake framework, energy, chips, data centers, models, and applications, dominated discussions. The implicit message was clear: whoever builds the best models controls the future. But India's IT minister dropped the real insight that nobody wanted to amplify. He said, "Large generative AI models don't give countries an AI advantage, as small models can do 95% of the work while consuming a fraction of the power. Return on investment will come down to deploying the lowest cost solution to get the highest possible return." Satya Nadella framed it differently, but arrived at the same place. AI isn't just better tools, it's a platform shift that digitalizes reasoning itself, lowering costs and changing how work gets done. Competitive advantage shifts from who knows more to who can execute fastest. The bottleneck has moved from intelligence to infrastructure. Payment systems for autonomous agents, standardized APIs, developer tools, energy supply, grid reliability, and data center capacity are now the critical constraints. What should founders bet on? Infrastructure plays, including APIs, payment rails for AI agents, and energy solutions for inference. Implementation services, trust and governance tooling. What should they bet against? We have a better model as the primary differentiation, unless you're genuinely at the frontier competing with OpenAI and Anthropic. Promise number 4. America will lead the AI race. Trump's address emphasized America First AI dominance. David Sachs, the new AI czar, dismissed EU regulation as an absolute disaster. The implicit assumption: American companies will set the global terms. But here's what nobody on the main stage wanted to discuss. China is 6 to 12 months behind, not years. Demis Hassabis acknowledged this publicly. and China has structural advantages that compound over time. Energy costs in China run 4 to 8 cents per kilowatt hour, compared to roughly 15 cents in the United States. China is deploying over 100 gigawatts of solar capacity annually, while the U.S. grid remains constrained. China has data access to 1.4 billion citizens with few privacy restrictions. Compared to GDPR, CCPA, and constant litigation risk in Western markets. And China has unified government coordination on industrial policy, while the U.S. remains fragmented and politicized. Elon Musk admitted it directly at Davos. He said, "It's evident that very soon, possibly even later this year, we will be generating more chips than we can activate. Except for China. China's growth in energy production is remarkable." The DeepSeek shock from late 2024 and early 2025 proved China can develop competitive models at a fraction of Western costs. The chip export controls that were supposed to buy America a 5-year lead? They may have delivered 18 months at best. What should founders bet on? Sovereign AI infrastructure, regional compliance solutions, and products that work across regulatory regimes. Consider non-U.S. markets where competition is lower. What should they bet against? Assuming U.S.-centric regulatory assumptions will hold globally. Promise number 5. We're building AI for everyone. AI democratization was a consistent theme at Davos. OpenAI launched OpenAI for countries to support governments from Estonia to the UAE. The message was clear. AI benefits will be broadly shared, but BlackRock CEO Larry Fink delivered the most unexpected critique of the entire forum. He said, "In advanced economies, wealth has accrued to a far narrower share of people than any healthy society can ultimately sustain." His warning was stark. Early gains are flowing to the owners of models, owners of data, and owners of infrastructure. The open question: what happens to everyone else? The concentration numbers are staggering. 5 U.S. corporations alone will invest over $450 billion in AI capital expenditure in 2026. OpenAI is discussing IPO valuations potentially reaching $1 trillion. Anthropic's funding round approaches $20 billion at a $350 billion valuation. A pre-product AI lab called Humans and raised $480 million in seed funding. One of the largest seed investments in technology history, before shipping anything. Over 40% of seed and Series A funding in 2026 is going to rounds of $100 million or more. Venture capital increasingly prioritizes founding team credentials over traditional metrics like revenue or user growth. What should founders bet on? B2. B applications that let mid-market companies access enterprise-grade AI without enterprise budgets. Products that demonstrate measurable cost savings for the 56% of companies seeing zero ROI. Vertical-specific AI that solves defined problems. What should they bet against? Assuming you need $500 million in seed funding to build a meaningful AI company, the mega rounds are going to research labs. The execution layer, it remains wide open. All right, let me now give you the 5 laws of the post-Davos AI economy that should guide your strategic decisions. Law 1. Execution speed. Beats model sophistication. Organizational velocity drives competitive advantage more than model quality. AI progress moves faster than corporate decision cycles. Compress approval paths. Deploy in weeks, not quarters. The companies winning aren't those with better models. They're those who implement faster. Law 2. Trust is becoming a competitive moat. When only 12% of companies can prove AI ROI, trust becomes a differentiator. Governance frameworks are evolving from compliance documents to market infrastructure. Companies unable to demonstrate that their systems are safe, governed, and accountable, they'll face distribution limitations, procurement restrictions, elevated insurance costs, and prolonged sales cycles. Trust isn't a soft virtue anymore. It's becoming a business metric. Law 3. Energy is the new compute. The bottleneck has shifted from processing power to electrical power. Compute can scale exponentially. Power systems cannot. Nations and companies with reliable, low-cost energy will have structural advantages in AI deployment. This is why Trump is offering to approve private nuclear plants in 3 weeks. It's why Meta just signed deals for 6.6 gigawatts of nuclear power. Energy access is becoming the binding constraint on AI capability. Law 4, the talent inversion is here. Junior roles are disappearing first, not last. The labor market isn't ready. 1 in 10 jobs already need completely new skills. Leaders are deploying AI faster than anyone, but including themselves, can learn it. Build for a world where experienced talent is abundant and entry-level talent is scarce. The traditional pyramid? It's inverting. Law 5. Pick your dependency position explicitly. A small group of companies controls models, compute, and data. Make an explicit choice. You can depend, meaning optimize around their platforms. You can diversify, meaning use multiple providers and build switching costs. Or you can build proprietary capabilities. Open source participation is a strategic hedge, not an ideological position, but you must make the choice deliberately. Let me close with the contrarian opportunities that Davos revealed beneath the rhetoric. The consensus says AI adoption is the hard part. The reality? Workflow redesign is the hard part. The opportunity is in implementation services, not tools. Number 2, the best models win. The reality? The best execution wins. The opportunity is in infrastructure and trust layers. Number 3, junior workers will be displaced last. The reality? They're being displaced first. The opportunity is in mid-career transition products. Number 4, ROI comes from capability. The reality? ROI comes from cost savings. The opportunity is in cost-focused positioning. Number 5, it's a US-China duopoly. The reality? Multipolar regulatory arbitrage. The opportunity is in regional and sovereign AI plays. And number 6, you need massive funding rounds. The reality? Capital-efficient vertical AI can win. The opportunity is in executio and not war chess. So, the 88% of companies failing to prove AI ROI? They're not failing because the technology doesn't work. They're failing because they're deploying tools without redesigning work, measuring capability without measuring outcomes, and following Davos narratives instead of operational reality. That gap is your opportunity. Davos 2026 will be remembered as the moment AI stopped being a technology story and became an infrastructure story, a governance story, and increasingly, a story about who captures the value of the most significant technological shift since the internet. The promises made on stage were sincere, but misleading jobs will be created, but not for the people losing them. ROI will materialize, but only for the 12% who redesign their organizations. Models will improve, but that improvement won't be the differentiator. America may lead, but China is closer than anyone wants to admit. I will transform everything, yes, but the benefits will concentrate unless deliberately distributed. So, for founders, the path forward isn't to believe or disbelieve the Davos narrative. It's to understand the gap between what was said and what the numbers show, and to build for the world that actually exists, not the one being described from a Swiss mountaintop. The 88% failure rate isn't a statistic, it's a market. And that's a wrap on episode 4 of The Intelligent Founder. If you found this valuable, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with a founder or operator who needs to hear it. Until next time, build wisely.